Welcome back, my friends, to another spine-tingling edition of Mr.Terror Tales. Tonight, I bring you 3 stories that delve deep into the twisted minds of those who invited others to poison them, to end their lives in a most horrific way. These are tales of desperation, betrayal, and the sinister undercurrents that hide behind friendly invitations. Prepare yourselves for a night of dark feasts and even darker fates. Claire had it all. The mansion, the wealth, the perfect life, or so it seemed. But beneath the surface, something far darker was brewing inside her mind. You see, Claire was tired. Tired of the endless expectations that came with her inherited fortune, the shallow conversations, and the fake smiles of those around her. She longed for an escape, a release from the suffocating grip of her perfect hollow world. For months, Claire had researched poisons, the kind that wouldn't raise suspicion, ones that wouldn't leave a trace. It wasn't just about ending her life, it was about doing it her way, with control. And so, she decided to orchestrate her death in a way that no one would forget. She invited her friends over for a dinner party, a celebration of sorts. But in truth, it was her final act. The question was, would they notice? As her guests clinked their glasses and drank deeply, Claire felt a strange peace settle over her. She would die here tonight, surrounded by the people she had once called friends. But she wouldn't die alone. They would die with her, victims of her carefully plotted tragedy. It was the only way to escape her life, and she didn't want to go quietly. She wanted her final moments to be memorable. Minutes passed and the poison worked its sinister magic. The laughter faded into confusion as the first signs of the toxin took hold. Claire's guests slumped over, their faces drained of color, eyes vacant. The room was now eerily silent, save for the quiet ticking of a distant clock. Claire herself was starting to feel the effects of the poison she had taken in the wine. But for her, it was too late to turn back. She had made her choice. Claire was at peace now, knowing her final act would forever haunt those who stumbled upon the remnants of the evening. When the police arrived, they would find nothing but the remnants of a lavish meal, the remnants of a carefully planned death. Her guests, all victims of her own twisted sense of release. The poison worked too well, and in the end, Claire got exactly what she wanted. James was a man of intellect, a philosopher trapped inside a mind that no longer made sense. For years he had searched for meaning in the world, but all he found was emptiness. His books and research, once his greatest source of comfort, had become his prison. No matter how hard he tried, the walls of his own mind closed in tighter each day. So, James decided to take control of his life and his death. James had always been fascinated by the concept of control, the idea that he could end his suffering on his own terms had become an obsession. That's when he reached out to his oldest friend, Mark. James wasn't asking for help in the traditional sense, no, he was asking for something far more chilling. He needed Mark to assist in his final act. James sent Mark a message. I need you to help me. Bring me my favorite meal and wine, and I'll show you why it all had to end. It was simple, almost cryptic, but Mark, his lifelong friend, knew James was struggling. He agreed to come over. As Mark prepared the meal, James's eyes followed his every movement with an unsettling intensity. What Mark didn't know was that James had already taken steps to ensure that the meal would be far more than just a final dinner. James had poisoned the wine. The slow-acting neurotoxin was something James had carefully selected, one that would paralyze Mark, leaving him fully conscious but unable to move. As Mark took a sip, the first hint of dizziness overcame him. His vision blurred, and his body began to betray him, refusing to respond to his frantic thoughts. But it was too late. The paralysis was setting in, and Mark was powerless to stop it. He collapsed into a chair, his breath shallow and strained. But James James was calm. James watched, satisfied. For the first time in years, he felt like he had control. Control over his death. Control over Mark's fate. Mark was now a spectator in James's carefully orchestrated end. And as the toxin took full effect, Mark could only wonder, was he the true victim in this twisted play? Or was it James who had won all along? Isabel had always felt like an outsider. No matter where she went, she never truly belonged. Her life, full of fleeting acquaintances and empty conversations, felt hollow. So when she received an invitation from Sarah, a colleague she barely knew, to join her for dinner, she hesitated. But the loneliness in Isabel's heart made the invitation irresistible. This was her chance to connect, to find something real. The invitation was simple. Please join me for dinner. I would love to have you. It was warm, welcoming, even comforting. Sarah had always been kind to Isabel at work, but Isabel never thought much of it. Yet this felt different. She decided to go. As Isabel stepped inside, a strange chill washed over her. The house was quiet, too quiet, as if the walls were holding their breath. Sarah led her to the dining room, where a lavish meal was set out. The air was thick with the scent of rich foods, but something felt off. Sarah's smile was wide, almost too wide, and her eyes glinted with a peculiar gleam. Isabel sat at the table, noticing the subtle tension in the air. She tried to brush it off, telling herself it was just nerves. But as Sarah poured the wine, Isabel felt a growing unease. Sarah's hand was steady, almost mechanical as she filled Isabel's glass. It wasn't until Sarah spoke that Isabel realized the truth. The words dripped from Sarah's lips like venom, cold and calculated. Sarah, I've been planning this for a long time, Isabel. You were never meant to be here. You were always meant to die. But don't worry, you're not alone. I wanted you to understand my reasons. Isabel felt it then. The sudden dizziness, the coldness creeping over her limbs, the tightening in her chest. She tried to scream, to run, but her body betrayed her, falling limp at the table. Sarah, however, remained unfazed. Her face was expressionless, as though Isabel's demise was just another detail in a carefully planned play. For Sarah, this wasn't just about poisoning her guest. It was about control, about proving that in the end, she could take whatever she wanted, including life itself. 3 stories, 3 people who invited others to poison them. But remember, my friends, not all invitations are what they seem. Sometimes when you think you're attending a dinner party, you may just be stepping into your own tomb. Until next time, keep your friends close, and your food even closer. You never know who might be trying to end your story. Subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more content. Also send email to Mr.Terror Tales, your unique horror story to make it video. Thank you for watching.